Chair now recognizes the ranking member of the subcommittee, the gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman, for 4 minutes for his opening statement.
These firms have clients who pay them. Those are the investors, the capitalists who make our capitalism work. The question is whether we're going to deprive them of the advice that they want and that they pay for. There is no barrier to entry to third, fourth, or fifth companies getting into this. And as a matter of fact, Vivek Ramaswamy has entered this market, and I can be confident that when he does, he will not be providing woke advice. The argument here is between Ronald Reagan and Leon Trotsky. There are those who think that the commanding heights of the economy should be controlled by the party line. And there are others who believe that investors, because it's their money, should actually control what the companies that they own do. And so we have before us bills that would require that investment advisory firms, that proxy advisory firms only give advice on what maximizes profit, and to tell the eco-investors go to hell. Well, what does that mean? That means that if there is a proposal on the ballot that the company get involved in the pornography industry, investment advisors will be required by law, passed by the Republicans, to say, yes, go into that business because it's profitable. If you deny the rights of liberals to get advice on how they can invest in companies that don't engage in slave labor, in companies that don't ruin the environment, then your own voters must be deprived of investment advice on how to avoid investing in pornography. Now, since I represent the San Fernando Valley, maybe that's a good district issue for me, but it isn't for you. Investors ought to get the advice they want from the people they select to get that advice. They should be able to invest in mutual funds that seek to maximize profit, or to maximize profit but no fossil fuels, or maximize profit, no pornographic movies. Instead, the most powerful people in the country, those who control the 1,000 or so giants on Wall Street, they don't want the investors to control the company. They think a small clique of managers should control the company. And how dare anybody who's just a mere owner suggest a change in company policy, let alone demand a vote on it, let alone let people get advice on how to vote? This is not a war on the proxy advisors. This is a war on the idea that the people whose money it is get to make the decision. What religious tradition teaches us that anyone with money must exclusively make all their decisions on how to make more money? I think there are some religious traditions that would say, invest your money to help the poor, invest your money to help the planet, maybe even invest your money to promote traditional family values, and to instead say no. Let management do what they want, do not allow, this is a country with a First Amendment, do not allow anyone to advise you to do the contrary. I don't know why we're having this hearing. I don't know why we're opposing the idea that those with the capital get to control the companies they own, and I certainly don't know why, because I know none of you represent the San Fernando Valley, why you have a pro-pornography agenda here. I yield back.
Pardon me. The chair now recognizes the ranking member of the subcommittee, Mr. Sherman, for 5 minutes for questions.
The loudest and most persuasive testimony is the testimony that has not been spoken. CalPERS is not here complaining. The institutional investors are not here complaining. The owners of capital in our society are not complaining. The complaints are coming by those who represent corporate America, who do not want the owners of corporate America to tell the managers of corporate America what to do, because they're just the owners. Now, low-cost investing is the rage now. You want to minimize your costs, and these proxy advisors cost money. Would it be illegal, Ms. Minow, to just have a mutual fund that says we always vote with management? Makes it simple. We spend 0.0 pennies figuring out what to do. Is that legal?
That is legal.
Or we always vote against management. That's legal too?
That is also legal.
Okay. So you don't have to pay for this advice if you don't want it. And in fact, you could offer investors a lower administrative cost if you just, or you could also have a proxy, a mutual fund that's policy was we just never vote, or we always just count our votes toward a quorum, but otherwise don't vote.
They would have to make a case that that was consistent with their obligation as fiduciaries, but if they were small enough, I think they could do it.
So you'd have to be small to do that. Whereas always voting with management, a big one could do that?
Well, if they disclosed it so that people
We
could
save
decide,
money by not thinking.
yeah, that people could
is
decide
the
that that's what they wanted.
index investing, that's the slogan. We save money by not thinking.
Yeah.
So why not carry it one step further and apply that to this?
Sure.
I mean, if you're not going to spend a penny figuring out what stock to buy, why should you spend a penny figuring out how to vote on the damn proxy statement? We're being told that there are errors. Now, the SEC Investor Advisory Committee reported proxy advice contained errors at the rate of 0.3% and none of those errors were shown to be material. Proxy advisors are, of course, private companies. Their clients expect them to be accurate. Ms. Minow, what is the argument for supporting more federal regulation of advisors to promote accuracy when the review shows no material misstatements of fact?
Proxy advisors are publishers of reports, just like newspapers. They'd give restaurant
If
reviews,
I could sue
movie
my
reviews.
newspaper in my town for an error rate of greater than 0.3%, I could afford to retire from Congress.
Absolutely. There's no possible justification for that regulation.
If an investor wanted to invest in a mutual fund that was dedicated to moving us away from fossil fuel, how could that fund vote those values without getting any advice? Could that work?
Exactly. As I said, the proxy advisors came of age in the 1980s to prevent the conflicts of interest that the investment managers were facing.
Okay, and what if you wanted a fund that invested in traditional values? Now and then, as I posited the idea that there might be a question before a corporation as to whether to get involved in the pornography business. They say that you can make money in that. If we had investment advisors, if the proxy advisors were required to give advice consistent with maximizing profits, would they then have to advise a traditional values fund to vote yes on pornography?
They're happy to do it. They're in business, Ranking Member Sherman, and if you come to them and say, I would like you to develop proxy voting policies or vote my proxies
Right.
for me
So
according to whatever policy you want,
So
they will provide it.
So if you pay them to tell you how to vote traditional values, they will,
Yep.
unless Congress prohibits such advice as has been proposed by some of my Republican colleagues. I yield back.